I am trying to jump on the Criterion Sale. I finally got the notification. I've tried to record this video like twice before. There's a copy of Double Indemnity on 4K physically at my store, and I have been creeping on this thing for like 2 months, so I'm just hoping it's still there because I think that would be fun for a video. I love going to an actual store and picking up an actual physical copy of a movie. It's a thing that I really like to do, and yeah, I'm on my way now, and I'm gonna swing by and I'm gonna hope that it's here, but I have a very short window. I'm on like a tight mission time here, so I'm hoping it's there so that I can kick off a review of an awesome, possibly quintessential noir classic.
Film noir and Noirvember as a month of diving into that. Private detectives, Hollywood, Venetian blinds, raincoats, fedoras, grieving femme fatale, staples that are embraced, introduced, abandoned in the picks that I have for this year. I probably would have done more if I were doing this more regularly. So my picks.
So you can't win them all. I did not get Double Indemnity, but I probably will online if I look for it, or the guy said he might be willing to reorder it at the store. And again, I like to support physical locations. So here's the deal. I did get something exciting. Sound of Metal in 4K. But I did get something because of Noirvember that I had been wanting to do a video on and never got the chance to before because, well, I wasn't doing this yet. The original Nightmare Alley. The original Nightmare Alley. They never got to release the black and white of Guillermo del Toro's. And so I might do a special sort of the double review for that, since I have already seen it and would normally watch it twice. Might be reviewing that one after watching the 4K and reviewing the original. So,
Double Indemnity. Essentially, quintessentially defined many tropes of the genre and is partially responsible for being able to pinpoint and recognize what noir is outside of other crime dramas. In a Lonely Place, where one of the kings of the subgenre, Humphrey Bogart, played a character a little too close, possibly, to who he really was, but that gave a certain edge to it that feels a little bit familiar. He's played a private detective so many times that when he starts to play just someone running through Hollywood and as a part of that system, there's a different flavor to it. And the opposite of that, Casablanca, I'm not even sure I'd consider a film noir if it wasn't for the fatalist sort of choice that the character makes towards the end. It's sort of the opposite. It's sort of the romanticized ending that you typically wouldn't see on a noir film, and yet so many different recognizable faces and features brought me back to revisit that one. That's sort of why Casablanca's on this list, but also because of the nature of a person's flaws and the sort of tragedy of embracing them and the way that that is unique to that story and still sort of true to the notion of someone facing selfishness and greed and paranoia post-war. It's just a different sort of ending that sort of highlights, by being different, that giving up something and losing something is the victory. Gaining something at a cost is the typical victory that you see people have. Like Double Indemnity. Survival, but at the loss of the entire reason a person went for what they went for. Or In a Lonely Place. Your protagonist is, in my opinion, not Humphrey Bogart, and in pursuit of salvation from a perceived threat, look what you lose. Some of these things I feel like are true to real life, that there's a balance, and that the hard truths that we suffer the consequences of our choices and our actions are so much more engaging and so much more well, truthful to me. And then you have Night of the Living Dead with zombies. Now, if you tell me there's not something true to this after watching this clip,
one is the visual language and one is the story language. The visual language, like horror, it comes extremely influenced by German Expressionism, a cinema of chiaroscuro, of light and shadow. The commonality between noir and tragedy is the inexorable. You know it's gonna end bad. It's ultimately a moral decision genre. You have characters that have not and try to get it through violence. They try to break that barrier that society denies them. That makes it a really interesting existential American tragedy. When people talk about noir, people think immediately of a cliche, a perfume ad, Venetian blinds, voiceover, detective in an overcoat in a wet street, slow-moving fan, smoking dame in the half shadow. That's not noir. The figure of the femme fatale, they were women with agency, and they got it any way they could because the game was rigged. The brutal, inexorable quality of noir is that the wheels keep grinding these characters. It's a beautifully brutal genre.
I don't know what to tell you. That is one of my favorite simple truths to me of what is so appealing and so engaging about knowing a movie that is going to be in this genre. So there's a reason I picked Nightmare Alley, the original and the remake, to sort of explore that commentary from Guillermo del Toro. And that is the core thread that is true in all of the movies that I picked. You have Double Indemnity, greed and the dark possibilities of what people can get away with for your femme fatale character. You have a lead and a framing device that's familiar to noir, narrating, because we meet him at the end when he's suffering what seems like deadly consequences of something he's done, and we lead up to learn how he got here. So diving in through this month, after you catch a certain wave that is gradually being darkened of diving into the holiday season, but giving up being thankful for greed. And I think it's just a thick, smoky, comfortable atmosphere to sink into a world where you get to be in the mind of someone who feels smart, quick-witted, and ready to take on challenges. And there's sex, violence, drugs, rock and roll, whatever you want to put into it, all over the place. I was going to say around every corner, but let's be real, it's not in the corners when it comes to these movies. Every one of these was spectacular. Double Indemnity in 4K, oh my gosh, sank into darkness and shot into light. When they're driving in a car, in a scene that involves a train, in a genre that sometimes deliberately rattles dialogue at you and throws twists and turns at you. The point isn't always to keep up, but you can more clearly than you have ever been able to before. So, thank you all for watching, and hopefully next year I'll be able to dig more into the details and specifics, what makes film noir so special